And welcome to Haze's Higher Learning. My name is Ashlee Haze, and I'm so excited today. We are getting into our first alternative spirituality, alternative religion series. And today I have two absolutely amazing guests with me. I have Miss Tolu and I have Aisha, and they're going to introduce themselves. And we're going to get into a little bit about Black girl spirituality outside of the Christian context. Because when I was growing up, I was raised Christian and in the church, and everything was voodoo if it wasn't like from the Bible, if it wasn't happening in church. And then I sort of began this journey that sort of started in Buddhism, but ultimately led me to understand more of Yoruba tradition and more of what religion and spirituality look like outside of a white Christian context, right? And sort of tapping into Black mysticism and womanhood and the ways in which we use this sort of divinity work. So I'm super excited for you all to join us. Tolu, tell us who you are, where you're from.
Hi, my name is Toluwanimi Obiwole. I live in Denver, Colorado. I'm originally from Lagos, Nigeria. And I am really excited to be here. I am an artist, I am a healer, a consultant, and like every Virgo, I have 25 jobs.
Facts. Complete facts.
Aisha.
Hi, my name is Aishat Oduola-Owoo, and like Tolu, I'm also from Nigeria. I am from Oshogbo. And I'm a braider. I'm the ultimate middleman, and I'm the person that you meet at the lighthouse.
Hey, I like it. I love it. I love it. So I met you all like two totally different ways. Aisha I met because I was looking for somebody to braid my hair, and somebody was like, yo, she's dope. And then the first time she braided my hair, she like read my chart, and I was like, who is this woman? She's like, give me your time of birth, where you were born, and then read me to filth. And then Miss Tolu, I met doing poetry, a brilliant poet. And Tolu actually gave me my first reading last week, my first tarot card reading, which was such an experience. And Tolu, tell me a little bit how you sort of came to tarot. What were you raised in a mystic household? Tell me a little more about your religious background.
So my parents are both evangelical pastors.
Okay.
And both Christian converts. My mother comes from a Muslim family, and my father, his family was very deeply into Ifa. And they both met at a very interesting intersection. And then I came out and grew up in a very Christian household. So like everything that was not of God, that was not, in church, was definitely the devil. But there came a point where like I just really couldn't ignore my dreams anymore. I really couldn't ignore all of the pulls that, all of the ways in which spirit was pulling me. Even in church, it was so interesting the ways that like Christianity makes exceptions for mysticism. Like in church, if I was basically giving a reading, they would call it a prophecy. They would say that I had the gift of prophecy. Mm-hmm. Or in church, sometimes like the church that my parents went to, the head pastor was really deeply spiritual and really deeply connected to God. And so would sometimes like stop worship and then like call on me to like come and do a healing for someone, like, and they called it laying on of hands. And so they would, and I would do that. And it was like this really weird, this is brujeria that we are doing here. But we're making an exception for it because this church is intercessory prayer. And so by the time I was 21, I was deeply skeptical of the structure of Christianity already. Like, it had already come apart. And then God just led me in a different way. And I was gifted my first tarot reading, and then gifted my first deck of tarot cards not much after. And I didn't really know what to do. I just like started reading up on it on the internet, going to my mentors who I started like finding slowly but surely. And then they started teaching me, and I just kept with it, kept reading for myself, and then eventually was strongly nudged by spirit into my healer path. And part of that is, utilizing readings as a way of figuring out what people need, helping them with energy work problems, whatever it is. So yeah, that's how it became part of my path.
That is so
fire.
dope. It is.
That's so fire.
And it's so interesting because labeling, right, is kind of what controls like culture.
Yes.
And so to be in a culture that labels your dreams a certain way or will accept it in this context, but not in a context that is rooted really in our home culture, right? I think that is a conversation we need to continue to have so that we teach people to tap into their gifts, regardless of what you call them or what book you use to guide them. And Aisha, I love you so much because you are a child of the stars and your astrology is just like, I've never been read like I've been read by you before. And I think that you are so dope. So tell me about your journey to that. How did you come to astrology? Was that something you grew up that was present in your household?
Oddly enough, astrology has always been in our household, but it wasn't associated to anything outside of what it was, which was just knowledge of self. And how I came into it was seeking knowledge of self. I wanted to know more about me. And I think a thing about astrology is that it is kismet based. It is exactly the time, place that you were born. And that's math. That is complete math. This is not English or whatever. This is math. When we think about the three Moors that found Jesus Christ, they were the Moors that found Jesus Christ. You feel me? They were the ones that found Jesus, gifted him, bestowed him with gifts because of their astronomy knowledge, their astrology knowledge, and arithmetic. This is math.
Yeah.
And I think for me, my parents, I'm raised by two Sagittarius. So, they're prideful about their stuff. They're like, okay, we're Sagittarius. And so we all knew, and I'm a family of mutable signs. So I'm the Virgo, my sister's the Gemini, and my other sister's the Pisces, and both of my parents are Sagittarius.
Oh my God.
So we go everywhere, okay? We travel. If you're a mutable sign, you know that you're going to be shifted from left to right. And so
what does that mean, mutable signs?
Mutable signs. So mutable signs are signs that are adaptable.
Okay.
They're the signs that are able to, they have to understand change and they have to utilize change for their benefit. And I think oftentimes a lot of people may not, fixed signs will have a trouble with change. You know what I mean? Fixed signs will have a trouble.
You know what? What we're not going to do is call the Aquarius out. That's what we're not going to do.
But change is difficult for people, but change is necessary for people. And so for us, we are so used to changing that finding home was very hard for us.
I see.
And so finding a level of home within myself in terms of knowledge, I sought it out. So for whatever reason, shout out to my goons, but anytime I see the symbols, for whatever reason, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And it's just like, oh, bang, this is your problem. You know that you have this problem. And for me, because I'm a psychology major and the goal is to become a therapist, I actually want to utilize astrology with psychology because I feel and believe that it's a roadmap. It's not to tell all. Nothing's to tell all. We're all individuals at the end of the day. But it is a cute script.
Ooh, okay.
It is
blueprint,
a cute
kind
script.
of.
It's a blueprint, exactly. But it's not the end-all, be-all blueprint. At the end of the day, you work with divinity and you work with your humanity. And that works and coexists with each other. So I'm at this point where I'm just like, okay, cool. I want to learn more about myself and I get deeper. And if you get into mysticism, you get deeper.
Yeah.
And you get deeper. And you get deeper into this abyss of knowledge. And my thing is, I don't want to just have knowledge. I want to have wisdom. And wisdom is applied knowledge. So how do I actually apply this information? Because I have fall placements. So my Mars is in Cancer. You feel me?
Y'all should see the looks on their faces.
And she's a Virgo too, so she gets it. Like, my Mars is in Cancer, and it's told to us that we are overtly emotional and this, that, and the other, and it's not a good placement. But actually, for this time frame, I think it actually is the best placement. And here's why. Because everyone is focusing and moving on apathy. Everyone is moving on a intangible connection. No one is moving on real bonds.
Yeah.
Everything is fleeting. With Cancers, it's not fleeting. But Cancers, it's bound.
Okay,
That's the mama.
I see.
It's bound. And my Mars being in Cancer means that I am bound to the nature of the world. Understanding it, not liking it, but wanting to change it. So I have this psychic power of knowing, oh, this ain't right for me. Or this is right for me, but it's difficult for me. And that's the duality. It's right for me, but it's difficult for me.
And that's what we talk about on Haze's Higher Learning, doing the difficult things and seeking connection and seeking to move past those behaviors made in apathy and shifts towards empathy. And it's just so amazing. Like, the stars are there. The stars were here before we got here. They'll be here after we leave.
It's a portal day.
And for me, what does that mean?
Oh, it's September 9th.
Oh, 9/9/2019.
And my birthday is 9/19/1992.
That's
so
awesome.
It's a portal day. It's when I say I've been through
been through it.
Like closer to Saturn return.
Oh, best believe that. And then like Saturn's about to go direct on the 18th. So the day after the 18th is my birthday. Ain't that some ish?
Wow.
My Saturn's in Aquarius, so you know.
Aquarius is the best sign.
You learned the hard way.
Not a support group, my Saturn. But Saturn return, it's crazy that you get there because this podcast is a product of my Saturn return. My Saturn return was just crazy. Like, it took, but then it gave, right? Because Saturn return, if you all aren't familiar, in astrology, Saturn returns to the sign it was in when you were born, and it happens around your 29th 30th birthday, 29.3 years it takes for Saturn to make a return. So it is said that who you become during that return, when that planet shifts back, is who you're going to be for the next 29 years. And I think the astrology of it is, we're millennials, and millennials are turning 28, 29, 30. And we're all feeling like, oh my God, this is nobody.
This is who I am.
This is who I am. Nobody told me. And now I have friends that have been here forever and are going to be here. And then I'm losing friends, and then I'm losing jobs. And then I'm trying to figure out who I am creatively. And this podcast is largely about identity. So it's super dope to me to have you all here and to talk about the ways in which our science, our divinity really constructs our sense of self, and how even having the power to choose that for yourself and not to just take what was handed to you really can be a powerful tool for women of color. So I'm super, super glad to talk to y'all about that. So Aisha, I came to astrology in the back of like a Cosmopolitan magazine. I'm like, girl, did you read this?
That's white astrology for y'all folks.
But I was going to ask, though, what does it mean? Because we have like Chani Nicholas now, who's just amazing and brilliant woman of color, femme of color. What does it mean to femmes to start shifting to reading astrology that is made by women who look like you? You think that shifts the messages?
Oh, yes, most definitely. I think that trials are different based on your demographic. I think when you think about a Pisces and you think, drug problems or escapism, but escapism for a white person is different from escapism for a Black person. Escapism can be dancing. Escapism can be partying. And for a white person, it could be drugs. It can be inappropriate relationships, So you really do have to look at where this person is from. And I think with astrology, I'm so grateful for the fact that it is a niche market for Black women, and it's growing more because Black women are finding out more about themselves, and they're looking past the cosmopolitan. They're looking past that, and they're finding out that, hold on, wait a minute, this actually correlates with me, but not exactly. How do I get that message out? And so for me, as I was doing that process for myself, I realized, okay, cool. My moon sign is in Gemini, so I like to talk.
Me too. Who the fuck are you?
Mind you, we just met today. But she's a Virgo and our moon is in Gemini. So
what does that mean? So back me up. And Tolu, you can feel free to talk in on this. So tell people what that means, right?
Okay,
because our
consistent
let me
identity
say
at
our astrology, like my astrology language is what's your sign? Aquarius, right? And now we're at moon and Mars and rising and houses.
When people say, hey, what's your sign? They're only talking about your sun sign. But baby, there's a whole natal chart. Okay. There's a whole natal chart. And so my sun sign is in Virgo. My moon sign is in Gemini. My rising is in Gemini. But my 12th house is in Leo.
So what is why is rising important?
Look, okay, so rising is what people can pick up from you. So some like it's real though. Like some people can, you know, when people are trying to guess your sign, that's what you appear to the world. You appear as your rising sign. Doesn't mean it's accurate. It's just that this is what you push out to the universe. So my push out is, you know, Virgo. So I am a humanitarian. I love to service people. I love to help people and all those things. I am a perfectionist, but it's not necessarily perfectionist. It's just that I've learned from my lessons and it looked perfect.
Okay.
Okay,
we're going to say that.
Best believe that Gemini moon comes in out of nowhere. Okay.
And why is your moon sign important? What does that tell us?
My moon sign is my emotional depth.
And it's how you relate to yourself.
Facts. It's how you relate to yourself, to your existence. And that's two people. That's a Gemini. So when she said identity crisis, oh yeah, I'm more Gemini than sun sign Gemini. You think Kanye crazy?
Oh my God. But I'm so attracted to Geminis as an Aquarius.
I know because you're air sign. You love that.
I'm like, yes, give me all this foolishness.
And then my Virgo is forcing me to be humble.
I see.
It forces me to be humble. When I say my 12th house is in Leo, I want to talk that issue real quick. Real quick.
I get myself into so many terrible situations
because of it. Because it's just like, you're not going to sleep on me, dog.
And it's my one fire placement.
Facts.
I ain't got
nothing. It's earth and air.
We're gonna give y'all a spin-off so I can do star charts.
But that's why you are tarot, because my sister's a Pisces and she does tarot. Me, the cards, I respect it and I love readings from it. But me, I'm more of the ancestral readings. So I'll do angel card readings, oracle card readings. But tarot, that requires a special subconscious mind. And because you are Pisces rising, you have the ability to see past this. You see past it. You have a knowledge of what's outside, even if it's subconscious. Like, you may not even know that you know, but you feel it. And it's just like, I'm going to say what I say, and it might make you feel some type of way. But just know it's not me. It's them.
Exactly.
It's them. It's them. And I think that ability is especially placed on certain people. Me, I'm too earth. I'm too earth for it. I'm just like, you're getting too close to the water, you feel me? That's too, because if people cry in front of me, I'm going to cry in front of them. But you're willing to cry with them.
And that's empathy. Yeah.
That's empathy. And Pisces have that empathy that Aquarius and Pisces have that empathy. I think people underestimate the empathy of an Aquarius because they are an air sign. And so they won't show it, but they feel it.
Yeah, I get that. I feel that.
They feel it. And for them, the best way to handle that feeling is to separate.
Yep. Boundaries. But remember, I said boundaries, not borders, because I'm a border setter. I can be like, stay. I don't want to see you, talk to you, kick it with you, skate with you. Nothing.
But that's the detachment.
Yeah, right. Because Pisces, it keeps you safe.
The opposite of that. So Pisces, where you see detachment, they see involvement and immersion. They will immerse themselves in your problems.
Sometimes to the detriment, because Pisces, man.
But they can handle it out of anybody else, and Cancers, all the water signs at this point.
Except for if your Venus is in Pisces.
Ooh, let's talk about it. See now. Okay.
Putting back on the
I was
take him back every time.
Let's talk about it.
Can't let him go. I'm so happy my Venus is in Libra, which is kind of worse.
Nigga, no! about your life. I'm like, so basically, we have literally...
Y'all have almost the same star chart.
We have almost the same star chart. And it's problematic to me because
why?
I know I'm a wreck. You feel me? Like, yes, I'm a wreck and I accept it. But because we love the idea of love. We love Venus. Venus and Libra.
It's the most polyamorous.
Who we're gonna get to that later in like non-traditional lifestyle.
Listen, one at a time. But yes.
Well, I was gonna ask you to do a reading, but I think we got one.
At this point, you're me and I'm you, but you're just more emotional. I'm just like detached. I'm like, oh,
you're able to do the high vibe. That's why, like, if I'm like single, like I gotta like stay single, or else like
it's trouble.
Yeah,
it's complete trouble because you flirt.
I flirt, okay, but I flirt without knowing it.
Yeah,
and then when it like turns into something where they're like, I'm actually like really
invested in, I love
and you're
you.
like, God damn, I guess I could see
my life,
the good.
Because the Libras is like, I guess I could see myself with
that
you.
That save them.
And we're the initiators of love. So our presence will initiate love without us really thinking about it.
I see.
And so we're navigating in this very, like, what is natural to us is just like, okay, I like this vibe that we're feeling, and I like that we're building something and whatever. But in our mind, you can't handle me.
So why you bothering?
The Virgo on top of it is like, I don't know
why you're here.
You're getting so close.
Because I'm problematic. I'm crazy. Like, and that's the thing. It's just that I feel like, once again, the Virgo is there to ground us, even though the Virgo is literally the Aries of the earth sign. So if we were a Taurus or Capricorn and we had a Venus in Libra, we would probably be a little bit more concrete. We'll probably be like, okay,
it's like
this is happy go lucky.
Time, but we fucking
one consistent person. But with the Virgo and Venus and Libra, it's just like, I like you and your brother and your uncle. Your uncle look real.
I ain't a player. I just crossed the line.
And it's just like, dang.
Y'all wild. Tolu, can you talk to us a little bit? Y'all need a spinoff.
That's a problem. I didn't expect this. I didn't
either. I just picked two people who I thought were dope.
Aquarius, you started trouble though. Aquarius, you started trouble, and you know that. Instigator. That is it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Aquarius, no, because Aquarius has a blended friend group.
That's facts. That's facts.
Blended friend group. And so when they have a party, you know it's going to be a good time, but you can't have them together for too long.
Yeah.
Because the differences will show.
Two Aquariuses in the same room.
Oh, no, I've seen two Aquariuses.
We can be in the same room.
Oh, they can be in the same room, but here's the thing. You will always know who's the dominant Aquarius. Here's how. Okay?
It's the February Aquarians.
You know it. I'm happy you know it, so I don't have to say it. There's the January Aquarius, and then there's the February Aquarius. Now, the January is closer to the Capricorn. So there's a level of groundedness of just like, I'm just happy to show you guys around. But the February, that's closer to the Pisces.
Yeah.
Right? So the Pisces is like, let your vices
just
show.
A little bit more volatile.
Exactly. Just throw them into the wolves and just see what happens. And that's the Aquarius that I feel like a lot of people are intrigued by. But the January Aquarius is, I realized that they have structure that is out this world. They are more prone to panic attacks. All Aquarius are prone to panic attacks. Let's say that for one. But January Aquarius are so prone to panic attacks because of the idealism of what they think their life should be. Mind you, Saturn is ruled by what? Capricorn and Aquarius. So this idea of structure is really what you make out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Not what others have made out of it, but what you make out of it.
And that, when I tell you, unlearning perfectionism is like huge thing. Mm-hmm. Unlearning, this is a picture I had and you ruined it. And now you must pay.
And now you must die.
And now you must pay. but really learning, moving into acceptance. And I think this is, you hit the nail on the head with that. So Tolu, can you, would you mind sharing with us a little bit of background about the deck and to maybe do a short reading for us? So talk to me about, you said there's a cleansing process for the tools that you use.
So it all depends on what you got. Right now I have Palo Santo, which I really am trying to start phasing out because it's being grossly over harvested. The same as white sage. So if you are listening to this and you are using white sage, start to phase things out. Like a really good replacement for Palo Santo and sage is cedar. And copal, even depending on where you get it, always ask where, if you are going to any holistic store, if you are going, if you're going to anywhere that you're getting magical tools from, always ask where your things are coming from, because these are just tools. As a diviner, like, there's this kind of like running joke that's like, I don't even like, you really think that I need the cards in order to be able to read you, which is like, no. I mean, you don't, but it's a really useful tool for illustration. It's a really useful tool for, because most people, us as humans, we operate on the third and the fourth like dimension, like we operate in the third and fourth realm. And so we're not necessarily always accessing our empathy. We're not always necessarily in tune with ourselves in the higher realms. And so if you just like sit across from someone and start spewing things at them, like they're not going to be able to get that. They're not going to be able to access it. So for me, tarot is a helpful illustrator for myself when I need to get things through my thick skull, and for other people as well.
It's sort of visual religion or visual spirituality, which, of course, visions are sort of how we create the worlds around us.
And we can use sound. I think that's a big thing, too, is that we use these raw materials, but there's sound. Sound has a frequency that can clear the space. So when you see these, like, you know, bowls with those sounds, it clears the energy without having to burn anything, without having to use, and you can recycle it.
The same goes with water.
Sound therapy, water therapy.
Well, let's talk about water, fire magic, and mirror magic.
Listen. Okay, we're going to get into mirror magic. Okay.
We're going to do a part 2 with the mystics. Y'all might have to be my resident mystics, yo.
For me, it's always, okay, so one of my favorite teachers of tarot, I took like a month or so long, like intensive class with her for tarot reading. And she's really dope. Her Instagram is Elizabeth fucking Marie. And she really reminded me that this is play. This is divine play. When we're asking the universe about things, when we're asking the ancestors, when we're practicing our medicines, and like everybody has a medicine, it doesn't matter what it looks like, everybody has medicine. When you're practicing your medicine, it comes from a place of joy. It feeds all of your timelines from your inner child all the way to like your future crone stage. Like it feeds everything. Like play is necessary, and divining is one of the ways that we play with the universe.
Yes.
So we're gonna play, and it all depends on like what we want to know. I always tell people, don't fucking ask questions you already know the answer to, because this is a reflection. This is a mirror. Like I'm asking myself, I'm asking you, you're asking you, we're asking your ancestors, my ancestors, our guides. We're pulling from a bunch of different spaces in order to get this information, but knowing that like it's play, but it's not for play, because like this is the ultimate access to like the clarity of truth, which we all have within us. It all depends on whether or not you're willing to get grounded enough to like go there and
absolutely.
Or if you're ready to accept the truth too, because like the truth is always there. Like
1 + 1 = 2.
You know, it's always going to be there. So yeah, I've mostly done affirmation readings in Atlanta, done a lot of love readings, some business readings. So what do we want to ask? Where do we want to play is like the question, and then I'll explain the deck.
Let's just also say that the full moon in Pisces is coming up, so let's just play that game real quick.
Yes. All of the portals are fucking open. Every fucking planet is in
and the thing is, like, we just got a couple of planets like in going direct, but the big one, big dog, Saturn is really about to like let loose. And I think 2020 is going to be a resemblance of what you've been through in 2019. And it's going to really solidify the growth that you went through in 2019. If you didn't go through growth, 2020 is going to be a problem.
Listen.
But if you did go through growth during this time, yeah, your lessons are going to be learned in the next couple of weeks. So for me, if you're trying to read some cards, I'm trying to see.
Okay. So Aisha, what do you want to ask the ancestors?
I found a level of groundedness a couple of days ago when it comes to like my school and whatnot, and I realized that I'm gonna be fine with school. I think I underestimated my intellect for way too long, and now that I'm in a space where that's challenged, I'm like, oh no, I can actually handle this. Now my love life.
We need to ask the ancestors about love.
My love life in correlation to my business, because I think what I always feel is a problem is that I always feel like I have to sacrifice one or the other in order for me to be great. This opportunity came right after a breakup.
Wow.
This, like, every opportunity that's massive comes from me being single. But I don't want to be single forever.
Yeah, to want love.
I want to be loved. I want to be embraced. If Stedman, my future Stedman.
Hey, oh my God.
Please, if you want to see me grow, love me.
Do you ever feel like the ancestors are like swatting away dick and like making you focus on like leveling up? And like, do you ever feel like sometimes...
Or they bring the dick.
Or they bring the dick. Or sometimes like they're preparing some for you. And then all of a sudden you level up and they're like, oh, whoop.
We need to change that. We need to switch it up. We need to switch it up. She's growing beyond our knowledge. And that's the thing is, it's like, dang, I am growing beyond my knowledge and beyond the knowledge of some other spiritual folk. And I realized that I think I have been underestimated even in my ancestral knowledge.
Speak on it.
I've been underestimated. I think that, because at the end of the day, we'll soon become Eguns. Yeah. Right? Eguns is ancestors. So we'll soon become ancestors. And I think what we do in our living will affect what we do in our passing. So for me, I think there's an underestimated quality that I bring. Because I think sometimes I think that my Eguns expected me to only be in Nigeria. No. I have to go. I have to experience life. I have to live my life. And I think now it's just like, okay, we knew how she was going to make money in Nigeria. But we didn't know how she would make money here. And her making money here is international, of course.
And that's where also, like, I feel like your guides come in, because I feel like it's never just one type of spiritual counsel. We are always surrounded by spiritual counsel. Yeah. Whether that's your animal guides, whether that is like your inner like spirit guides, the ones that have been with you since you were born, your ancestors, plant guides, orishas, like all of them, you are consistently surrounded by spiritual counsel. And
living counsels too.
And if you have grandparents, if you have, great grandparents, any kind of relatives that in any way believe in you, connect with them now. Before they are ancestors.
Yeah, I think we need to return to not only respecting elders, but calling upon elders for wisdom.
And I think that's the problem sometimes, is just like, what words do we use to communicate to you so you can understand? Because everyone wants to be understood. Yeah. I think that's a natural human quality. We want to be understood, but not all of us can articulate what it is that we need, want, and expect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Undiscussed expectations lead to chaos.
Yep. That's the conversation we had in effective communication in Haze's Higher Learning, and really moving past that into true understanding and true connection, cross generations, cross color lines. So Tolu, will you help us see what?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So many people read many different ways. The way that I read for people is and some people don't let other people touch their decks. I always like to get a good feeling, and you are more than welcome to touch my deck. I let you, the person, think about what it is you want to ask, and shuffle the deck until you feel good, get grounded, call upon your ancestors. You can call upon them by name, call upon your guides, and I get grounded, call upon my guides, call upon my ancestors, call upon my seer guides, my connections to the earth.
That was a card. Jumped out.
Yeah. Okay. We can lay out cards and just shuffle till you feel good, and then I'll cut the deck and I'll read. But it's always good when they give us one.
They give it to me.
The best.
To describe what just happened, as Aisha was shuffling the deck, a card sort of flipped over, and so that is understood to be the ancestor sending you that specifically.
Cards will jump a lot of the times when you're shuffling them, especially if you're shuffling with purpose. Cards will just like jump out. Like sometimes they'll jump out many at a time, and that is what they want you to read. Like you read it as it falls. And then I honestly, it's really just divine direction, subconscious divine direction, the way that I like lay the cards out and set them up. And will you state your full name for me, please?
My name is Aishat Oduola-Owoo.
Please let us know what Aisha needs to
know. Ashlee means power, y'all.
Which there's a lot of things from.
Facts.
Swords. Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Wait.
You see how the 6 and the 9 comes in?
Sometimes I will consult my pendulum to help me redirect, help me move in certain ways. So we pulled this. Jeez, you want this?
I want it all.
Hey, okay, all right. We pulled the 6 of Swords. We pulled the 5 of Swords, the 9 of Cups or Chalices, and the Knave of Wands. So we'll start with the 6 of Swords. So Swords is a suit of wind. It is a suit of changes. It comes to us when we need to like let things go, leave things behind, especially that 6 energy. That 6 is like the collection of mounted work. So there's a lot of work that you've already done in your inner life, and there's something, a disappointment, something that is like a little bit sad for you to let go of. That's a little bit like, man, I'm really, kind of upset, but it's necessary for you to let that go and to seek your inner wisdom and like, a straight shooting arrow keeps sailing forward. The 5 of Swords is also asking you why you are wanting to hide, why you are wanting to take why you are wanting to take ulterior methods of reaching what it is that you truly want. Why are you escaping your own creativity? It's not me. But they're asking definitely for in the 9 of Chalices for you to look at what you have. Like for the longest time, this was the message where you weren't necessarily understanding what it was that you held, but now's the time for you to look up at all of the love, all of the connections that you have brought into your life, and really see and appreciate them for what they are. See and appreciate those important bonds, and also acknowledge what it is that you are creating And the Knave of Wands is, number one, asking you to see and recognize your work. You have done a lot of important movements when it comes to, obviously you've done a lot of important movement when it comes to your business. And like really you need to like focus on congratulating yourself. Like recognize real for sure.
You know
how
I struggle with
that imposter syndrome needs like
exposed.
But for real, like this is what this is talking about. All right, so we have the Emperor here. And so Emperor energy is telling you to like, yo, in a very masculine way, and in one having to do with your very liver is what they are saying. You need to regain and retake control and stand in your power. Sometimes the things that we hold on to, sometimes as crutches, can blur our balance a little bit, can blur our focus. But it's really, really time for you to be commanding in that. So you need your clearest mind possible to be commanding in that, which requires lifting your head, especially as you like walk in the streets. I'm sure you don't have like a huge problem with that, but just
no, but I do. I'm so tall that I regret it.
No,
I'm so tall that I regret it. I'm just like,
It's time for you to lift your head.
Chester.
Anything you want clarified? Anything? Does this resonate?
No, it does resonate. I think that's one big thing that we always talk about. It's just this idea that like I still haven't watched my episode at the OWN network. I still haven't watched it, and everyone around me has watched it.
Aisha was on the conversation as a part of the Black Women Create conversation on the OWN network. And you're saying you did this dope thing and you haven't even...
I haven't even watched it.
Yeah.
Because I have like, it's jitters. And I knew that when I said what I said, I meant what I said. And I'm not here to reiterate. I'm not here to clarify. I was clear on what I said and what I felt. And so going back and looking and thinking about the opinions coming after it, I don't want to consume myself with it.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, my parents saw me on TV.
Yeah.
They saw me on TV.
Your African
parents. And
my African parents saw me on TV. The college dropout, they saw me on TV spitting facts.
Not just on TV, but speaking.
Yes, and speaking about things that was on my mind at the time. My name is Ife Dayo. Ife means love. Dayo means joy.
Love that, literally, the love that brings joy.
The love that brings joy. Like, and so, like, me talking about it, you know, I've had my own mishaps with it because I'm trying to figure out what it means for myself, what joy means to myself. And it's just crazy because, like, maybe like 2 weeks ago, prior to the airing of it all, I was so suicidal. I was done. Done. And so just to know that, like, mind you, had I done that, the week after, I got to meet so many of me. I was embraced by love back to back to back to back to back. Mm-hmm. Every day since then, I've been literally immersed in love. And it's just like that head bow. Humility is there's a difference between humility and shrinking.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That.
1,000%.
Absolutely that.
I tend to shrink so much because of my idea of my relevance.
Mm.
And I feel like I'm surrounded by so many people who influence me, but don't assume that I can influence others until I'm reminded that I've influenced the pool.
And you have to be in your power and be enough. It's not anything that you have to seek to be.
And understand that you are enough. And, like, you were validated by your existence.
Absolutely.
Are you ever, like, afraid that... Are you ever afraid of how big your relevance is?
Yeah. I'm afraid of my exposure like a mug. Yeah. Because I've seen how my exposure has had a radioactive effect on people.
And that's other people's problem. That's not
facts.
yours.
That's your issue.
People will always, like, especially in this society that needs to be on its like, everybody needs to be on their healing journeys at this point.
Facts.
If you're not on your healing journey, the depression is only going to get
If you with me, we healing. That's what we've been doing.
And
That's what we show up to do.
And deeper, and especially with this full moon in Pisces, like, you're just going to go deeper and deeper and deeper into self-loathing, and deeper into self-regret, deeper and deeper into it if you don't acknowledge it. My problem is hiding. Nigerian culture has forced us to hide. Y'all think Black culture kind of forces y'all to put things under the carpet? How we put things under the floorboard? Like,
build a house on top of it, on top of the untruth, on top of the secrets, And
it's robbing you of sincere joy. Like, I'm here right now experiencing someone I've known, someone I've met, and someone I've experienced for the first time, and still feel connected all the same. And I think when we allow the spiritual, and it is a spiritual attack. Suicide is a spiritual attack. You don't know where it's coming from, but you feel it. And the idea is, I did not ask to be born. So you are here from the thoughts, the pre-thoughts of other people. You're here because of other people. You had no part in it. You had no part in it.
That's it. Yeah.
And that robs you of a power that you feel so wholesomely, but at the same time feel like, why? For what reason? And purpose is something that will continually save me. Gratitude is something that will continually save me. And congregation.
Yeah, community does it, man.
You can't be isolated. And Virgos, we know.
And not just how to be isolated by ourselves, but how to be isolated in crowds full of people.
Period.
Knowing how to be on autopilot and, like, honestly not feeling like
anything.
Not feeling anything, but also, like, being around your friends, wanting to help and helping your friends, but then at the same time
feel empty after.
Keeping your emotions so hidden, so up, because you feel like it's too much for your friends to take on. But then isn't, like,
you read me more cards.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, Tolu put some more.
More cards into it.
So the devil card shows up.
Ooh, I love the devil card.
Yeah, right? It always shows up to remind us when we are repressing our feelings, our deepest desires, our truest emotions. The devil card reminds us of what our detriment is. So we have the devil card opposite what it is that we need to be doing, which is celebrating ourselves. So when we are in this, like, little vortex of, you know, having to, like, this is literally like the illustration here. Like, this is the Virgo controlling your inner Gemini emotions.
The twins.
Like when you are so focused on controlling what it is your emotions look like to the world, and when you feel like you're unable to be truly vulnerable with your community and the people that you're around, as opposed to this, like, strange fake wholesomeness that started happening in churches a while ago, where you, like, greet people, hello, hi, and you know, like, you kind of, it's the mundane. You know each other as Christians, you know each other, you greet each other, but you don't actually know about those people's lives. You're not actually being vulnerable with those people at church.
Yeah.
But this is a level of church congregation, right? Like, I'm literally, like, I've been to your house how many times? Like,
quite a few times.
I cooked in this. Well, I didn't cook in this place, but I brought food in this place. Like, you gave me my first real job. You feel me? Like, I'm a hustler because I braid hair, but you gave me my first real, like, oh, there's a W-2 form that comes with this work. You know, so you've given me that space so I do feel at home, right? And then to talk about my inner, what's going on with me, what's going on in my mind and my emotions. And you do have this combat. You do have this combat of just like, am I professional or not? Aisha can be professional, please. This is a different profession that you're used to.
Yeah. And to step outside ourselves.
And it's to step outside of myself and to remind myself that, like, I am at home. I think one thing about the mutable signs is that they're so used to going to other places that they forget what home is. And they forget that they can bring home anywhere.
Yep.
They can bring home anywhere.
You are your first home.
You are your first bars.
But it's honestly something that, like, we have to remember, because the one thing that I always have to, like, realize is I can never ever be so arrogant that I feel like I've completely unlearned everything that was deeply programmed in me since birth.
Yeah, it's like, constantly unlearning.
A few it took a long unlearning, like.
But it is about remembering that, and remembering that we have that understanding of who we are, but also remembering that we still have so much more to learn. Mm-hmm. We have so much more to learn. It is not a tell-all book yet.
You are consistently redecorating. If your body is a home, if you are consistently working on your body being home, then you're consistently redecorating. You're consistently figuring out what that means. It doesn't have to be solid, consistent. Like, you don't keep
fluid.
I really hope you don't keep the same chair for, like, 35 years unless that shit is like Louis Vuitton, like artisanal shit. I really hope you changing out your shit, and I really hope you're redecorating.
But people don't. People are comfortable, and complacency is something that plagues us in our growth process, because we are so used to finding things and be gifted things, right? We're gifted with the understanding, but don't know how to utilize the understanding. So we kind of recycle this understanding that we've been programmed to think. So we have instinctual versus indoctrined. And so we have this instinctual desire to love, but we have an indoctrined way of learning, of loving.
Yeah.
And we are constantly in battle between which is productive. And if we go to the indoctrined way of loving people, then we may find ourselves in this very mundane, pragmatic situation. I love you, therefore I get married to you. I love you, therefore I get married to you, and then have your kids. And then I have your kids and watch.
And it's easy for Virgo too to get snapped up in that, and then we end up on Snapped.
Facts. Like, complete facts. Like, that's too true.
If you do not question, if you are, and it all comes back to community. It all comes back to having examples, to having safe reinforcements of your growth process and affirmations of your growth process in community. Like, I was just reading about it today in the cards, that, like, literally your creative connections, your everyone that moves you forward in that stage of unlearning, everyone that moves you forward in that, like, that is what moves you out of stagnancy. That is how you redecorate, because, like, it's not always that we can just consult the mirror and have it be completely truthful. Sometimes it is very, very helpful to see a reflection in others and to see the truth of who you are in others.
Absolutely. And I'm so grateful.
Oh, we got the Two of
Cups. We got one more card. Okay.
Which is exactly what that is. The Two of Cups is all about harmony in your relationships. It's all about literally using each other as that balance and mirror, being able to, because we see these two cups, they're completely different, but they're looking at each other, and underneath we have two lovers who are embracing. And so they're able to see the beauty of their differences and still have, like, emotional harmony. And it's also talking about inner emotional harmony as well.
Duality for the twins.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful for y'all for coming on this. Part of Haze's Higher Learning is exploring and redecorating and finding pieces that fit us. So if you find that mysticism fits you, Tolu, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at TOLUWAOB. I do, what do they call those faraway readings?
Remote readings.
Remote readings.
Remote readings, that thing. Over technology, if you have FaceTime or any kind of messenger, I do that. Or I'm in Denver, Colorado most of the time reading.
Really Aisha. We're going to get Tolu back to Atlanta. Aisha, where can people find you for astrology readings?
Okay, you can find me at She Knew Nothing, SHEKNEWNOTHING. She Knew Nothing, and shoot me a cute little DM. I'm going to have webinars to teach about the planetary placements very soon, and I just want people to learn more about themselves through astrology, because once again, it's just math.
Absolutely. So you can find more about them at Haze's Higher Learning on Instagram. Visit ashleehaze.com/Haze's Higher Learning. As always, you can support Haze's Higher Learning by clicking on that page by Patreon, by PayPal. If you want to send offerings to Tolu or Aisha, feel free to message them. You can find their information on the page. Thank you so much for listening to our first alternative spirituality episode. Our song of the week is going to be Sango by Oshun.
Yes.
And I hope you all have an amazing week. Thank you for tuning into Haze's Higher Learning, where together we are learning better, doing better, and being better. Have a great week, y'all.